Bring it back. Bring it back. Bring it back. Bring it back.
Check. Hold on. Is this better? Is the sound working now? Then I need to just unplug my earphones for the moment, because this stuff is getting complicated and complicated. Let's see if we are live now. Yes, I got the thumbs up. Thank you, Eddie. Thank you for all the feedback. Let me quickly start over again, because most of you already know this stuff. But hey, let me tell you, my name is Mixmaster G. I am a 56-year-old dude from the Netherlands. I am no longer an active DJ, but I had my first DJ residence at the age of 15. I looked much older than I actually was. I call myself a retired DJ. I don't do gigs any week anymore, just a few a year. But most of you might know me from a little piece of software that I wrote, and that is this software, the DJ conversion utility, which helps you convert between various DJ software, maintain your cues, loops, beat grid, and all that other good stuff. Now, this week we've got a packed show. I've got a special guest, DJ Yoda, who's already waiting in the green room. So we bring him in later. But over the weekend, a lot of stuff happened that we really need to talk about. So let's just get starting. And first, before I start, let's say hi to the people that are already in the chat. And for all of you who are new to this stream, I do this each Tuesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Central European time. And you can basically ask me any DJ technology related question. Not only do I try to explain to you how to do certain things, but I also try to demonstrate wherever possible how to do it. So it's not just a talking head, it actually has a screen, and we got gear to show you as well. Let me see who is all there. First of all, Milou de Zeeuw, which is my girlfriend. Hi my love, good to have you with us. Anthony Brown, good to have you with us as well. Vince Romali with a question which I will quickly touch on for a moment. Eddie Broom, good to have you with us. Mick, hi Mixmaster G, he is also asking a question. DJ John Lowe, very good to have you with us, buddy. And the list goes on and on. It's actually busy. Great. I love that. I love to see that. Let me very quickly go over the questions that are asked in the chat. And after that, I will go to the things that we need to discuss before I can bring DJ Yoda into the stream. Vince Romali, hello, happy Tuesday. I got a question for you. In a performance needing to make a playlist in Algorithm DJ Pro AI, I have normally been using the Create My Collection. Is there a better way where I can get saved to Apple Music after show, or is that all I got? Basically what he is talking about, and let me show that on the screen as well, because hey, we have all this gear here, so I can do that right on the spot. There we go, and let me pull up Algorithm DJ. Here's Algorithm DJ, which I was using for the intro tune, so that's the reason why I can use that. The only way to create playlists in Algorithm DJ is indeed in its own collection. You use this little symbol there to switch to its collection. Make sure that you are not in the music part or any other part. You can even go right here, but if you are right here, then you go to the playlist segment that is there, and then you click the plus sign, add playlist, and there you can add a playlist and you can fill the playlist up. Now that playlist lives only in Algorithm DJ. However, the DJ conversion utility can convert that playlist to an iTunes or Music.app playlist. So it's a little bit complicated, Vince, but you can continue to make playlists in Algorithms DJ and then convert them to music or to whatever other DJ software you want to use. So it is possible, not the most simplest. Then MIG has a question. Hi Mixmaster G, been testing out a pair of Denon SE6000s and debating whether I should give CDJ 3000 a shot. There are things I like about the 6000, but I do miss the Pioneer workflow. Basically that is the whole story about the Denon gear. Technologically wise, it is advanced. It can do a lot of stuff that Pioneer DJ cannot do. For instance, you cannot use Beatport or Beat Source Link on any CDJs yet, but you can do that on the SE6000. The flaw of the whole ecosystem, the whole Denon ecosystem, is the preparation software engine DJ. And of course there are still issues with reliability that some of the DJs experience. For that reason, if you want to go for standard CDJ 3000, one of the benefits of using CDJ 3000 is that you can also rent them out if you don't need them yourself. They are in short supply. They are really, you can really make nice money from that. There's no way you can make money from renting out SE6000. So I would suggest give the 3000 a spin, but of course that compatibility and that industry standard comes at a price. So it is just a matter of what are you willing to pay, what do you need it for. Both are great platforms, but the Achilles heel of Denon DJ is still Engine DJ, and I don't see that going anywhere soon. Then we get the no sounds all, and then Chris is in the building. Chris, hello, and Vince, you're more than welcome. All right, the stuff that we need to talk about, because after all, we are a DJ technology show, so we need to discuss this stuff. Our friends from Pioneer brought out a new controller, and let's see that I can put that on the screen. Like, it helps if you prepare this stuff, doesn't it? And believe me, I did prepare this. There we are. The Flex 10, the DJ Flex 10, which is the successor to the DJ 1000 on the Rekordbox and the SRT 1000 on the Serato front. It's a Serato / Rekordbox controller, state of the art. The DJ 1000 was for a long time the controller that I recommended to everybody and anybody who asked, all right, I want to have a DJ controller, what should I buy? This is the new one, and it will just basically work. So what is unique about this one is that it has the stem features that Rekordbox 6.7 introduced. Furthermore, it has the build quality from the DJ 1000, but there is not a lot of innovation in it. Let's face it. The only innovation is that it's both Serato and Rekordbox. Serato is not working yet. Serato is supposed to be integrated with this controller in the summer, and then it will be an auto unlock device, so you don't need a Serato license. You can use this controller to control both Serato and Rekordbox, and it will unlock both of those programs. Then with the release of this controller came Rekordbox 6.7, and with Rekordbox 6.7 I can finally put this famous meme to bed. So this is the last time I hope that you see this meme on my live stream, because it's not required anymore, because right now Rekordbox 6.7 has stem capabilities. And I hear you think, all right, Mixmaster G, what do you think of those stem capabilities? They are moi. They are first generation stem capabilities, in line with what Algorithms DJ Pro still has in its program, but they fall behind Serato, the current Serato, and Virtual DJ. However, the best stems are still not made real time, but offline using a program called Ripix, which is what I recommend for making stems. It simply makes the best quality stems, and it gives you the possibility to post-process it a bit in the DAW of your choice, so you know that if you are going to use stems, you know exactly what those stems will sound like. Let's go over quickly what Rekordbox 6.7 brings, because it is a lot. Of course, the Flex 10 compatibility, track separation, stems in other words, mix point link, a function that I don't have any use for, but hey, what you can do is you can tell one cue to start on another cue in a track. It's like sync for dummies. Again, I don't know why they made it, but hey, there must be a market for it. And there are some other improvements, etc. from it. Highly recommended to stay on 6.7.0 or to go to 6.7.0. However, as always, there are issues. And those issues are big, and those issues need to be talked about. So let's talk about first, good thing that I made a list out of this. If you want to use stems in Rekordbox, you need to activate them. And that whole activation is a little counterintuitive due to the fact how Rekordbox works. So let me show you how you activate stems. I made a short video about this because I'm missing this from all the reviews that are online. Of course, I always go to Mojack's review because Mojack thinks a lot like I do. And I trust the guy blind. But whatever review you watch, if it's Crossfader, his digital DJ tips, everybody tells you that it has stems, but nobody tells you how to exactly activate them. So here's the trick. Right now, this is my Rekordbox and I don't have stems. What all those reviews will tell you is you need to go to the preview, then you go to the extensions panel, but I don't have an extensions panel, and that's the problem. Rekordbox has different preferences to different modes that the program is in. Right now I am in export mode, as you can see right here. If I go to performance mode, then my preferences change, not only for what I want to show you, but for everything. So if I go to preferences right then, I all of a sudden have an extensions menu. And if I go to that extensions menu, I can enable the track separation. So takeaway from this is, before you can use stems, you need to enable them, and you can only enable them in performance mode. Other question that I get a lot is, Mixmaster G, do you need to have a subscription to Rekordbox in order to use this? No, you don't. You can use them right away, but if you have an unsupported controller, then it might be a little bit tricky, but you can use them out of the box right now without the controller connected, just to hear what the quality is, etc. So that's at least a good part. Let me quickly have a look at the questions that are popping in. DJ Final Touch. They made disappoint release, no mention of the Dropbox problem. I'm going to talk about that, my friend. So good that you're with us, salute. But we are going to... and they didn't talk about the future APA change problem. We are going to touch on that. Please, Mixmaster G, can you put a link up for the Stems app you use? Sure, I will, Anthony. I will put it in the first remark under the video after we close the video, which will be a long time from now, because I have a feeling this is going to be a long video or a long stream, but I try to make it as quickly as possible. So that was all about the stem. Then indeed what DJ Final Touch is touching on, and what I have been speaking about for the past 2 weeks, the change of Dropbox with the API that is now into effect, meaning that your audio files are stored in a different location than they used to be. If you want to know everything about that, watch the past video. That is all working now, but that is not working very well for some DJs. Most notably, it is not working for one of the DJs that is close to my heart, namely the DJ named Zedd. As we all know, we had this weekend Ultra Miami, and on Ultra Miami this tweet showed up from Zedd. Take your time to read it. It basically came down to this: Zedd tried to update his USB with Rekordbox 6.7.0 20 minutes before his main appearance on the main stage on Ultra Miami, and all kind of hell broke loose. And I think, come on Zedd, you are a pro, why are you doing this the last minute? The reason behind that, I can give you that, is that he is doing a collab with Martin Garrix, and they were tweaking the remixes, and he wanted to make sure that he had the latest remixes on his USBs. And he is not using a single USB. If you look a little bit further in his tweet, you will see that he has 4 USBs, and all those 4 USBs were damaged by the Rekordbox update minutes before a big show on Ultra Miami. So that is terrible, because you have like 100,000 people waiting for you, and you have to perform, and your USBs are not functioning. What was happening here, what it looks like it, is that the analysis was not showing on the USBs, and I've heard a lot of those complaints since version 6.11 of Rekordbox. That is the version for the Opus Quad. And I heard those complaints not only for CDJ USBs, but also for Rekordbox, for regular CDJ USB. So let me pull up my Rekordbox again, and let me give you some simple pointers to follow in order to make sure that this doesn't happen to you. First of all, if you are using CloudSync, and CloudSync is the Rekordbox way of putting stuff in the cloud in collaboration with Dropbox. then something funny happens. And let me show that funny thing to you guys right here. This computer is on CloudSync. If I go to Library Sync, you can see that indeed I have Library Sync to another device on, and I have synchronized all my music files on with a test Dropbox account. Mind you, I am not on a pro Dropbox account. I am on a test door because I need to test this shit, so I'm not going to spend a lot of money on a very big account which gets filled up with 5 tracks maximum. That's not how I work, at least. Then let me go to my Dropbox folder, which is old style Dropbox, mind you. And you can see there is some stuff there, nothing interesting, just some stuff. Now let me go back to my Rekordbox. Let's create a playlist there, create a new playlist there, and fill it up with just a handful of tracks. And those are coming from here. I'm not going to put a lot of tracks in it. Now, what is of interest is the location column. That is why it is right in front of us, and the little cloud columns. You can see right now Rekordbox says that stuff is not on the cloud. If I select those tracks, and if I say CloudLib, upload those tracks, then it will start uploading those tracks to the cloud. I need to enable my Dropbox for that in order for this to work perfectly, and that is not on. So let me switch my Dropbox on. Usually I turn this stuff off just to make sure that we cannot have problems with that. Dropbox, where are you? There is Dropbox. And you see that now is a folder Rekordbox created, and that Rekordbox is containing those tracks that are uploaded by Rekordbox. Now, what is interesting is that this location is not changing. It still says users 𝐃𝐉 account desktop multi-format major laser. Now let me go to my trustworthy Macintosh M1, which is my remote computer. Let me do that on a different screen. So let me do that again, and that's better. And log into the M1 and then show you guys what is going on there. Here is the M1, and this is my current Rekordbox. This can get confusing always, so I try to keep it as simple as possible. Going to this Rekordbox because I want to show you what most likely went wrong with Zedd's tracks and how you can fix that. Now if we look right here on the M1 computer, you see that that the playlist exists, but that the location says Dropbox Rekordbox. That means that those tracks can be loaded, and those tracks originated originally from my computer over here, from my work computer. So that is all working fine. Now in some instances this location doesn't show Dropbox but shows the absolute file path. Absolute file path as in like this. Let me show it right here. Like this. But if that happens on the M1 computer, that doesn't make any sense, of course, simply because that M1 computer doesn't have those tracks. And that is the moment where you will be unable to sync your Dropbox files. The way to fix this is twofold. So let me take it step by step. Again, I cannot show it because it is working fine now, but if you go to the My page, to the Library Sync, and you switch it off altogether, you close the pane, you quit Rekordbox, and then you start it up again. First let's wait for it to close and clean up the stuff here a little bit. Then you start up the Rekordbox again. You go to the My page again, you guess it, you switch it on again. Then you have to jump through all the Pioneer hoops, which is rather annoying. And then on that computer, this will still be the same, but if you select them all and you do a reload tags, or if you go to the top of the menu and you say where are display all missing files, you will see that all of a sudden those files are going to change and change to Dropbox. And that is what you want to see. So you don't want to see an absolute file path here, you want to see Dropbox / etc. And only then the tracks will be exported to USB. About USB export, when you encounter problems that the preview is missing from a USB, and let me quickly show that too, because hey, that is what we do here. Let me find a USB. Let me put that right here. And there it is. Don't sync with my tag, that's all okay, and not now, and go away. You can see that I have the both libraries enabled on that USB. I've got the device library, which is the old CDJ library, and I've got the device library 𝐿 enabled. Now, if we, for instance, move a playlist to whatever you want, one of both, there we go. Then make sure that you check if the previews are there. And you can do that very quickly by just go to the all track segment on both and just check that. If that is fine, then they will play fine on both the CDJs and on the 𝐿. If previews are missing while you are watching the old tracks, reformat that drive. Don't try again, it will not work. Reformat that drive and make sure that you format that drive with a guide partitioning system, macOS extended. Let me show you what that looks like. You go to your application folder, to the utilities, disk utility, right here. Then select the drive. If you don't have this view, then make sure that your view is in the show all devices mode, very important, because otherwise you cannot choose the partitioning scheme. Click the erase button and then say I want to go to a guide partitioning map, macOS extended. Don't go to FAT or exFAT, while FAT32 is my recommended format if you want to have a universal USB. If you know that you are going to play current CDJs or an 𝐿, go to macOS extended. It will be faster, but that missing analysis data will also be gone. So two things to know. First of all, if your column, your location column, shows an absolute file path, make sure that you toggle CloudSync on and off and then do a missing files overview so those locations change to Dropbox. The other thing is, if you miss analysis information on your USBs, and that is what happened with Zedd, make sure that you reformat that drive, guide partitioned, macOS extended. Let's have a quick look at the questions. Stineldo, did you recommend updating RB, or would it be safer to keep the older versions before the release of the 𝐿? The older versions are right now safer, but I think that the problems that are in Rekordbox now are there to stay. So just bite the bullet and go to 6.7. I know where those problems originated from, so better to just move ahead and make the step to 6.7, because sooner or later you have to. Nick Tom, hi G. Have you noticed any freezing happening on the new Rekordbox version when choosing display missing files option? My Rekordbox freezes when checking this option. Mind you, I'm running M1 Max, no CloudSync. That's weird. That should work fine. Make sure that you gave Rekordbox full disk privileges. That is one thing that might slow it down. And there is a discussion on the forums. There is always a discussion on the forums, Dominic, and good to have you with us, my friend. Okay. Those were the things that I needed to speak about, because hey, that is what we do. Indeed, it's time to introduce my guest. And let me give you a little bit of background about how I came across this brilliant DJ. My girlfriend, my old girlfriend, and I liked to frequent a festival in the UK called Bestival, and I found one of the programs of it actually. And in 2014 I went there for the first time because Nile Rodgers was there headlining the closing and they made a huge disco ball. That was totally my jam. I didn't know anything about festival at all and never heard about it. But I came there and I felt right at home. It's huge, there is a lot going on. Not only big names, also small names. And at Saturday evening, or Sunday evening actually, we had headlining first, what was their name? I forget the name. But they had a huge hit. After that Busta Rhymes was supposed to play there, and after that Major Lazer, and after that was Nile Rodgers with Chic. So that is quite a lineup to enjoy. So I was there early. We wanted to check out Busta Rhymes. However, Busta Rhymes was a no-show. What the fuck? You paid for it. He was a no-show. He had some beef with Live Nation or something. I don't know what the real reason was, but there was a replacement. And that replacement was DJ Yoda. DJ Yoda on the main stage, on festival. Imagine, the crowd was expecting Busta Rhymes, so it was a hip-hop crowd right in front of that main stage. I think it was like 30,000, 40,000 people watching. And I had something like, all right, let's eat. I don't know DJ Yoda, I'm hungry, let's have a snack. But the moment DJ Yoda started with, of course, a Star Wars intro, and I saw what this man does. It was the time of Breaking Bad. He had a lot of Breaking Bad clips. He had a lot of blends from those Breaking Bad clips into the music he was playing. I said, all right, I want to see this. I need to see this. And I saw that whole set in awe. And after that, I was sold. I am a huge DJ Yoda fan. Needless to say, I reached out to him and I asked him, hey, this is what I do. I know what you do, at least from a fanboy point of view. Would you like to join my stream? And he said yes. So people in the chat, put your hands together. Give the fives in the chat for DJ Yoda. And then I need to do a little bit technical because let's see. Black Magic. I don't see anything happening here.
I think, can you hear me now? I think I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Mixmaster G, I can hear you.
DJ Yoda, we just changed places. And you know that we actually did try this before. So I don't know what is happening, but that happens all the time, of course.
The sound is kind of bad as well. It's like something's deteriorated with the sound.
No,
But
I'm using the 𝐶𝐵 Bluetooth because my Blackmagic is not coming in. So sorry, folks. It is a cheap whole sound with indeed a very low volume. I cannot do a lot about it. I give it a final try if I can switch back to my regular audio because this is annoying as hell. You know the This should do the trick.
That's done the trick.
That should do the trick. Now let's see if I can move us in the right set.
Let's get labeled right.
Yeah, let's get the labels right. But I don't think we can because I did reboot my entire set. But hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, whatever. People can figure it out.
Yeah. I am not DJ Yoda, but actually I was talking about that set you did on Festival 2014,
right?
And you had those huge graphics on the main screen, and you constantly had the text line "I am not Busta Rhymes." So this is kind of the same thing. I'm figuring out how I can put my cam a little bit better. Yes, this should do the trick a little bit better. All right. First of all, Duncan, thank you very much for doing this. I'm really humbled by you joining me because, like I said in the introduction, I am a fanboy. I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing for the art. So
well, thank you, man.
I
really appreciate that, and thank you for having me. I'm more than happy to chat because I know that you delve into things on a level that I will appreciate.
Yeah, that is one of the benefits of being both geekish and into pop culture. Of course, we spoke a little bit before we did that. Yoda, can you tell the audience very quickly where they can know you from? Of course, I can tell you and tell the whole list, but can you tell very quickly what some of the things are that are very recognizable about DJ Yoda from the past?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've had like a 25-year career in DJing, and in that time, 5 artist albums, a whole bunch of mixtapes. A lot of people know me for my How to Cut and Paste mixtapes, which are very old now, and live shows, a bunch of collaborations and projects. So I keep myself busy, and yeah, any number of those things, I guess.
One of the things that I noticed about you is that you are, like me, mainly an hip-hop jazz. I often call that black music guy, which I am by heart, and I mean that in no racistic form at all, but just music with a groove, music with a soul, music with funk. That is my jam. And I noticed that from the sets you spin, that is the same for you. But there is another very distinguished thing about your sets, and that is humor. Can you tell me a little bit about that? What brought you to the idea to incorporate humor into a DJ set?
Yeah, sure. I mean, my background is hip hop, and you know, the style of DJing I was trying to do right from the start was hip hop DJing, and I was trying to emulate the DJs that I respected. And certainly, the time that I began DJing, there was a trend within pop music to have kind of hip hop remixes of pop songs with loads of small samples and scratches from kind of kitsch 50s movies or commercials or just, you know, audio from anywhere. And it was that idea of kind of little bits of samples and juxtaposing those different things from different places. That's what appealed to me. And right from the start, I had this attitude towards music that this is entertainment. You know, to me, it's the same as comedy, and being a DJ is very similar, I think, to being a stand-up comedian. You're there to entertain people and to keep things fun. And to me, the other DJs that I saw that were very serious, it seemed like a strange attitude to me. Like, why? How are you going to just be so po-faced about this when what we're ultimately trying to do here is have fun? So a lot of the time I would construct mixtapes and live sets almost like comedy shows. So sometimes I'd even stop the music and just, like have funny stuff going on. I mean, like if it made me laugh, then the idea is that hopefully it will make other people laugh too.
Well, I asked this because my background, my reason of becoming a DJ is comedy. We had in the Netherlands, we had a comedian named André van Duin. And he had a radio show he made with another guy. And we are talking late 60s here. I was a young boy. And I listened to that religiously. The trick they did is that they dubbed over and over and over with just two guys doing different voices, and it sounded like a whole studio full of nonsense, and it was absolute nonsense all of the time. And I wanted to find out how he did that, and that brought me into the world of reel-to-reel, literally tape cutting, overdubbing, and that from that came remixing. So my entry into DJing is actually comedy, is actually this guy André van Duin, who is still alive, lucky enough, and who is still a comedian, a great comedian he is. So that was one of the things that I immediately recognized about your set at Festival. This guy is making fun. It should be fun. Why so serious?
That radio show sounds totally up my street, like definitely. And I think there's also a long tradition of using cut-ups and samples for comedic effect, even before hip-hop. There is definitely a whole bunch of comedy 45s that came out in the 60s where they would take little snippets from pop songs and kind of make them tell a story or kind of like, or repurpose them in some way. And really kind of like, probably my biggest influence of all is 𝐠𝐮𝐞𝐬𝐭 with his lessons 1, 2, and 3. And that was the original cut and paste style. And he came from a background of advertising and editing. And really it's just about cutting things up and repurposing them, replacing them like a jigsaw to make something fun.
That absolutely. And just to continue, André van Duin indeed is, I think, right up your street, because after that radio show, which went on for years and years and years, he also did Animal Crackers, which were just basically recordings, video recordings he made in the zoo, and then he mixed his mouth over the animals and let them do all kind of crazy shit.
I love
it. So it is up your street all the way. And on the other hand, I was as a kid a big fan of Tommy Cooper. My mom used to tell me that. I have no recollection, but my mom told me that if Tommy Cooper was on the telly, I was just sitting there with my eyes glazed. Great. So my background is comedy and entertainment first, and music came along with that. But then you became a DMC Scratch winner in what year was it? 2001.
Yeah, I mean, it's like my relationship with the DMC was interesting because right from the start, I was into turntablism and scratching, and definitely using the turntable as a musical instrument appealed to me. That's how I made a lot of the mixtapes that I made, and that was what my interests were. However, I never had that competitive streak that comes with a lot of that. I really had no desire to battle because I just never felt like I was the best. There were other people out there who I knew were technically better than me. So, what's the point of going out there trying to battle when you don't feel like you're the best? So I was really more interested in what I could do creatively with the turntable. But the DMCs were of interest because a lot of stuff creative was going on there. So I ended up judging. I judged the World Finals for 3 or 4 years running. And just had a close involvement with it. I was always around. I was a music journalist for a while, so I wrote for Hip Hop Connection magazine in the UK and wrote their DJ page. So I was always involved and watching, but never so much battling.
We got a question from Chris, because you became famous due to your mixtapes, let's face it. And that was a different time and age, because I cannot imagine that a starting DJ nowadays can get famous by mixtapes because there is so much out there, and how do you reach the people? But I am from the bootleg day of age. When I went to the record store and bought my records, which were import records, there was always a secret stash under the desk with bootlegs of remixes that were not officially available but still could be bought. And of course, I made my own mixtapes when I had to spin in clubs. I usually had the tape running and then duplicated that tape, and then the bouncers sold those tapes and the cloakroom, and that is how you made your name. But that's not something of this type. But Chris is asking, DJ Yoda, do you use specific software to create a mixtape? In the past, there was a software called Mixmeister and was working pretty well.
Yeah, well, I was like, mixtapes, that's what I came up on. I was inspired by other DJs making mixtapes, and that was what I wanted to do. That's how I started. And interestingly, all the mixtapes that I'm known for, so all the cut and paste mixtapes and the ones before that, was pre-computers, for me anyway. So I made all of those, even though they came out as official CDs with all licensed tracks and everything, and they were all made on a 4-track cassette recorder with no mixing, no mastering, just straight off the cassette, and then that was the finished mix.
Literally cutting and taping.
Literally, like using a cassette and an actual kind of audio cassette to record onto with 4 tracks. And I just got fast at using that machine, and it was only after all that I got into the computer and started using Ableton, which I would use now for that kind of thing.
Ableton is my DAW of choice as well. But did you cut compact cassettes, or do you mean the reel-to-reel tapes?
As in audio cassettes, like a TDK C90,
compact cassettes.
Yeah,
that is next level, my friend. I had the luck that an uncle of mine had an old reel-to-reel recorder, which he found obsolete because the compact cassette came out, and that was much more convenient. But I could have that reel-to-reel recorder on the cheap, and I could really cut and paste and glue, and that was kind of doable. But if you have a compact cassette, then the fact that you are going to tape the tape, did you use celluloid tape or did you use glue? Because it becomes so thick that you get a problem inside the compact cassette.
I never really had much time to mess around with reel-to-reel, but I'm sure that there'll be so much fun to be had with that as well. Like, just you get a different sound off it. And actually, I think it's a really essential part of that mixtape era is the sound that you get off of the compact cassette, because it comes with a hiss, but a good hiss. Like, to me, I think there's a lot to be said for the technological limitations of sound recording of different eras. So I listened to a lot of early blues music from the 30s or whatever, and I think if that had been recorded with modern equipment, it wouldn't hold the same value for me. What I like is the limitations of the technology, and certainly that kind of era, especially of 80s and 90s hip hop mixtapes, it needs to come for me with the hiss and the tinniness and the lack of bass. It's part of the vibe for me. So doing my how to cut and paste mixes on a cassette with no decent mastering and basically crappy quality, that works for me because it just gives it that sound.
Yeah, Chris can only imagine the workload with tapes and recorders. Well, you cannot imagine, Chris. I literally created real loops, reel to reel, using beer bottles with closets from the toilet paper on it, so you could spin, and then you could move them away, so you had enough room to make the loop as wide as possible, and stuff like that. I come from an era, there was no internet, there was nobody teaching this stuff, so if you wanted to do something, you had to be creative to find out yourself, and I think that is something that is a little bit lost in the current generation, because we have wonderful software at our disposal, but you lose all the traditional skills that also make things live. Like you say, old blues music from the 30s or old jazz music should have an hiss should have a tick, should have some noise. It's okay to make mistakes. It doesn't matter. It's not
and also
the mistake
my experience, having been through several eras of technology with and music production, is that every single version of it comes with its own nightmare and its own pros, its own pros and cons. But there's nothing's been perfect. Everything's comes with its problems and its good side too.
As we discussed at the beginning of the stream, indeed, with the Dropbox issues and stuff like that going on, stay in control of your things, people. That is very important. How did you get your first gig? How did that evolve? Because you had a love for music, you did turntablism, but I can imagine at home. How did that work for you?
Well, I started off just making tapes, originally for myself. And then for friends, I would copy them up, like 10 tapes for friends, then 20, and then the word got out and it became 50. By the time it got to that point, I would take them into the local record stores in London. At the time, it was Mr. Bongo's. And then there was like the hip hop store in Bristol, in Manchester. I'd start sending these tapes out. And each time I made them, I would copy more and more up till it got to the level of thousands. When it got to that level, I got asked by people to come and play at local hip hop nights, and I had a lot of really shitty gigs to begin with, just getting used to it and learning. I think I learned the most about live DJing in the years that I was at university in the UK, because I was a resident at the weekly it was an acid jazz night. That really dates it very badly. But I would be the resident DJ there and warm up the bigger DJs. And that's where I learned to play in front of a crowd. And yeah, that was back in the late 90s. And it just kind of escalated from there, I guess.
My biggest problem in those days was always how to get tracks, how to get the tracks that you wanted, because vinyl was expensive, very expensive. CDs became a little bit less expensive, but I always had a problem to get. How did you come across that? How did you work with that, especially in the beginnings?
Well, it was a big limitation. I just had to rule out a whole bunch of stuff that I would have liked to have played because it wasn't possible to. So I was stuck with whatever I could find on vinyl, whatever I could afford to buy on vinyl, and I would mark up stuff with bits of tape and be able to kind of get to the parts that I needed fast, and take a huge amount of records to every gig. It was, like 3 big boxes. And when I started touring outside of the UK, like the first time that I toured Australia, it was with 2 massive boxes of vinyl. And, it is seriously inconvenient, but you just had to work with what you had at the time. And I never really, the first wave of CDJs did nothing for me, because I come from that background of needing 12-inch records and having that vinyl feel. So the CDs didn't feel right to me, the way they didn't rotate, and it just didn't feel right to scratch. I need Technics 1210s or an equivalent. Even with all the tech that I use now, that has to be at the kind of heart of it all for the aesthetic and for it to just feel right.
I think that aesthetic is very, very, very important, because a lot of DJs have a hard time to explain to the audience what they do. That is not just the performance they give, but also the curation, the track selection, etc., etc. But if you have a set of turntables in front of you, something that moves, and people see you work on those turntables, then at least you don't have to explain that you are actually doing something, because it's very visible.
Physical, and it's manual, and it's digital. You can watch a hand, touch a record and watch the correlation with the music and the sound. And now I do the video shows as well. Same with the video. Like, it makes so much more sense for people to see me scratch a turntable and it scratch the video than trying to do that with a controller. And I have nothing against controllers. There are controllers that I like as well. But for me, and just the background that I come from, yeah, I need that kind of, like I say, like Technics 1210 or equivalent to feel like I'm DJing correctly.
And are you still using DVS, or are you in the phase now?
Yeah, I'm in the phase. Yeah, very much.
You're in the phase.
Yes.
All right. So no more head shells and stuff like that. Just phase on it.
It was a pleasure to have to stop worrying about head shells and
I can
and all that kind of stuff.
I can imagine that it makes life a lot easier. Talking about your current shows. if you have a show, do you use a tech rider or do you still bring your own equipment because you think it's too specialized?
I have a tech rider, which is basically just 2 turntables. Now it's phase. It doesn't matter what the turntables are. I can live with anything as long as it rotates. And a Pioneer S11 mixer, which I'm really specific. It has to be that mixer. I won't use an S9. I won't substitute that for anything. I just because I use every function on it, and it's all MIDI mapped, and with the video shows and everything. It's a mixer that I love, and I've changed mixers a lot throughout the 25 years, more or less every year. But the S11, I remember it coming out and me thinking like, this is, I don't know what more I want. This feels like everything I need. Yeah.
Yeah, that is. I know a lot of the background of the S11 development because it was done by one of the friends of the show, Professor BX, Drew from Pioneer DJ USA, and he really brought the spirit of turntablism and stuff like that inside the S11. I've
had a good relationship with Pioneer over the years and helped them develop a lot of stuff, and I had a word in the S11 as well.
And yeah, that's the good part about Pioneer, that they are an industry standard for a reason. And the reason is that they are consistent and they listen to DJs. And yes, that doesn't mean you get all the bells and whistles all at once if it is new. But when they introduce it, it will be introduced properly. And sometimes, like when the S11 came out, that was an amazing product. It was for me that year, I think we're talking 2020 or 2021, it was the DJ product of the year because it was so groundbreaking in what it offered. But how do you go about the videos that you incorporate in your set, because they are an integral part of your whole performance?
Yeah, that's changed a lot over the years as well, because to begin with, it was DVJs. I mean, even before the DVJs, I was doing shows with movies where I was kind of re-soundtracking movies that were just being shown from start to end. But as soon as the DVJs came out and you could scratch and mix DVDs, that appealed to me straight away, because I was throwing all these kind of audio samples from movies into my mixes anyway. So it just made sense. You could mix the actual movie itself. Then from DVJs, it became Serato Video when that came out. And now I use Mix Emergency on top of Serato. So Mix Emergency is, for those that don't know it, is like a video plugin that sits on top of Serato. And it's just kind of where the most exciting stuff is happening with in the kind of video mixing side of things right now.
And if I'm not mistaken, it was actually developed by the guys who did the video stuff for Serato before, right? That they went their own way in order to make the stuff that they really wanted to make.
Yeah, precisely. Serato Video still exists within Serato, but nothing much has happened. It seems to be kind of dead in the water. Whereas Mix Emergency, things are still developing.
And that you say it sits on top of Serato. Is it like a plugin, or is it a separate program that is working together with Serato?
It's kind of a mixture between the two. It is a separate program, but it talks to Serato, and it kind of acts like a plugin, but it is a separate program. So yeah, it's an interesting kind of blend of the two.
But simply put, if I load a track in Serato, then Mix Emergency knows which visuals I want to go with that track, and after that it is off to the races. I can scratch, I can do all the stuff. It sounds marvelous. I have no experience.
I mean, one of the things about the video mixing that I always try and point out to people is that it's way simpler than you probably imagine. So when people come up to me after a show and ask what I'm doing, they're trying to get their heads around it. Often the way that they're thinking about it is so unnecessarily complex. And I just say, instead of mixing MP3s, I'm mixing MP4s, and that's it. An MP4 file will play some video and audio for you. And if you imagine your Serato loaded with MP4s instead of MP3s, then that's it. It's nothing more complicated.
And how do you control what is shown on the screen with that Mix Emergency then? Does it just follow the fader, or do you press buttons in order to make transitions of the video?
Right, you can set it up in different ways, but what I do is you just think of turntable, the left turntable and the right turntable as two separate video sources. The crossfader will blend between those two sources. And you can adjust the style of transition. I have that MIDI mapped onto the S11. So I can change it from being just a straight cut from one to the other to various other transitions that work better for scratching or for long blends. So I kind of mix that up mid-show, like the style of the transition. And the things like the up faders on the S11 will fade out the video. The effects will affect the video in ways that would make sense. An echo or a phase or something will also kind of have that effect on the video.
Is all that mapping standard in Mix Emergency, or did you map it yourself through to the S11?
The transition stuff I mapped myself. The volume to fade to black comes as standard. And there's a lot of different options depending on what equipment you're using and what kind of things you want to change. There's a lot of really deep video effect stuff in Mix Emergency, some of which I haven't even got into because it kind of takes it to the next level. But yeah, it's interesting. I did some shows recently in domes, so like immersive 360 visuals. So and you have to kind of map your video to make sense for that space. And then I started thinking about the transitions and which transitions work better in a dome environment as opposed to a 2D screen. And you start to realize, well, there's one transition called an iris that will start in the middle of the circle and kind of work its way out. That works great for a dome. Whereas a straight kind of like push slide is not going to work because it's going to move the whole environment in a really jarring way for people. So depending on the screen you're working with, different transitions make sense.
I think that dome performance is actually on your homepage. If you go to DJ Yoda CEO UK, there is a video there, and I think that's one of the dome things that you're talking about. I will make sure that I put the link in the remarks under the video after we finish, so people can watch that. I've watched it. It is amazing. It is truly amazing. I always have
some video stuff on in IMAX cinemas as well, and I was just trying out different screens, and you know I'm really kind of like on a journey of learning about how this video DJing stuff is going to work for people. And what originally the first thing that really became clear is it doesn't work in these clubs that they try and put plasma TVs around the club or have small screens that different people can see in different places. It generally, the bigger the screen and the better the screen, the better the show goes. So that's why I made this move from clubs to movie theaters, and people sitting down and eating popcorn and watching me DJ in a cinema environment. And that's like, I love doing those shows because it's all bits from films that I'm using anyway. But yeah, any opportunity to use kind of like projection mapped screens or domes or IMAXs or interesting screens, I'm all for it because I'm trying to figure out what's going to work.
The IMAX performance, if I'm correct, was something with games, right? You created something with early games from the 80s.
I have like a bunch of different video shows that I do. Sometimes I just DJ with video and it's not planned. I'm freestyling it and just doing what happens. Other times I have all these themed shows. So I have one show that's Stranger Things or Stranger Things related music. One show that's all Tarantino stuff. And like, there's about 20 of them now. One of them is a history of video games. So kind of a chronological video game story, starting with Pong and Pac-Man, and then working its way up to the present day with all the relevant music and clips in the show. I did that one at IMAX once as well. Yeah.
Are you a big gamer yourself, or?
I used to be back in the day, not so much now because my interest is more music and movies, but I grew up with it, and I was an expert in putting that show together up to about 92 or something, and then I needed help with what was popular since then.
I think that's my break point as well. 92 is when I stopped playing games. Yeah. I didn't have the time for it, and like you, I always used movie fragments, audio movie fragments, recognizable movie in my sets just for fun. I'm of the day that we had old jingle machines, those 8-tracks machines with an infinite tape in it. and a 1 kilohertz tone to auto cue it. And I made those for basically each week if I had to perform, and I knew there was a jingle machine in the booth. Then I made some themed things there.
Well, so then how something like the scratch bank in the S11 makes so much sense for me now, or just having the sampler within the S11 to be able to throw in samples is like it's such a natural part of the way I play.
Totally, but let's face it, you also have that in Algorithms DJ. They have an excellent sampler. What a lot of people don't know is that you can replace those samples with your own samples. Traktor is my base DJ software. In Traktor you have remix decks. That means you've got like 64 pads available to fill with sounds and loops and stuff like that. It's amazing. It's mind-boggling. But I can understand that the sample slots in Serato are a great addition, and the S11 made it so much easier to take benefit of them because they're right there.
Well, I've fallen into this kind of like way of working now whereby Serato is the best for me for live shows, but I'm using algorithm a lot for just kind of posting stuff on social media, and like I'll do a mix on the iPad or something and screen record it and post it to TikTok or Instagram or something. So it's kind of like my social media way of DJing, whereas Serato for the live shows.
Okay, so Serato for live. Stin Eldo is asking a question that is basically for me. If the series of track organization is over. No, it's not, Stin. Like Dominic says, it is an ongoing project. It's never over. I am always here each Tuesday to answer questions about it. But today is about DJ Yoda and what he does, because I think he is a remarkable addition to the craft, and he has a lot of things to say that makes total sense. Talking about sets or performances, how much is your performance written in stone, meaning totally scripted, and how much is just sitting there and by the seat of our pants, let's go for it?
So two types of shows for me. When I do these themed audio-visual shows, they are shows that are more or less written in stone, not written in stone, but like there's a show and I'm going to perform it. But when I DJ or if I do a freestyle audio-visual set, absolutely the complete other end of the spectrum. No plans at all. I might have like a 60-second intro that I play, and then we just see what happens. And to my mind, that is what a true DJ should be able to do, is read an environment, and especially if you play multi-format like I do now. I can turn up at an event and be like, oh, it seems like they want reggae here. I'm going to go and play reggae now. Or it's sometimes I'll take that to extremes and be like, oh, I'm going to play 1940s music tonight because I can and because I feel like it's right. So I just have everything with me and try and read the environment and get it right for the event that I'm at.
Yeah, I totally agree. One of the traits of a good DJ is being able to read the room, and that is something that no AI will ever replace, because reading the room, you need to be in the moment, you need to see what's happening, how the reactions are, and then you can of course build on that, and that will not be taken away.
There's no algorithm for that, yeah.
There's no algorithm for that, though there are some tricks, because Spotify knows what's on the playlist of all the people in the audience, so they can do to a certain extent, they can do something, but there is nothing to replace a DJ for that. Let's see, because I had some questions set up. Can you tell the audience what if there is a difference between if you are going to do a battle, but like you already told, you are not the battling guy kind of DJ, though you won one. So I think that answers that, because I can imagine if you have a routine for a battle that is written in stone entirely, that is all welded out, and you just need to stay in the script, or otherwise you will lose the battle for sure.
Even within the live show aspect, there are little bits that I would consider routines. There are like mixes that always work that I know are good things to fall back on, or just funny blends that I like to come back to. It's almost like to come back to the stand-up comedian parallels, having classic jokes that people want to hear again. I'm like, there'll be something like, I like to play Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash, and I mix it with a certain 80s hip-hop instrumental every time. I know it's a great mix and I love to do it, so I come back to it, you know. So I almost consider that like a routine.
There's nothing wrong with good combos. How do you organize your tracks? How do you use Serato if you perform? Let's talk about just club and festival sets. Is there a certain method to your organization?
There definitely is. There's a very specific method, but I feel like it's my own crazy Frankenstein thing that I've created, and it's gone off in all these different like the sub crates, but I do obsessively file and create crates and create sub crates, and I have a shitload within Serato. I'd say probably a couple of hundred crates. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like I said, like if I suddenly start playing music from the 1940s, I'll start looking in certain crates. What I might do sometimes, which I've been doing recently, which is quite good, is before a gig, just drag the 4 or 5 most relevant crates to the top, so that I know, like, okay, I'm going to be like roughly in this area. We'll see if it strays away from that. But yeah, I obsessively categorize within Serato, and I think that's the best way to be able to do these kind of like fly by the seat of your pants shows, when you know that all your cue points are there, all your metadata is all sorted out, and then I'm comfortable to like jump around and I know where everything's filed.
Preparation is everything, and indeed the most important part is know where you can find your tracks. That is know your music.
Well, the worst thing is trying to remember the name of a song at a live show, and you can think of no word in your head to search. You're like, I know, I can hear the song, but I've got no word to type in. Like that's a bad moment.
Yeah, but us coming from the vinyl age, we know our tracks, and especially if you do the stuff you do, you know your tracks, so you know where to find them. And yeah, in the past we could see by a sleeve print what track it was, but
exactly. And now the same thing with video as well, because within the video section of my Serato, again, all the sub crates within that, I have sections of just. So sometimes I might want to play an MP3 that doesn't have some associated video. So I have crates of like just visuals that will work for random bits of music. So I might want to narrow that down, like to make it more hip hop based or more 60s based or whatever it is that I need it to be.
Yeah, that makes sense. You don't consider to make crates for a special event. So let's say you know that you are going to a hip hop joint, you just pull your default hip hop crates to the top.
So as well as all the kind of genre related crates, I also have crates of this one event that was a good gig for me, and I wanted to save that show. So I have one kind of like master crate called Places and Spaces, and within that you could find like, this show I did in Brazil in 2009, you know, like it's just a show that I remember, and I was like, the things kind of went in the right order for that show. So I save a lot of that stuff as well.
Okay, because that would be my next question. Do you save the history lists? So if
it's a great show, if it's a show that I think that you know, I should be able to recall what happened in that one, you know.
Are you tough on yourself when it comes to stuff like that, or?
Yeah, and I will find it as well. Like sometimes in the past I've saved a show, fallen back on the elements of it for future shows, but realized that chunks of it are not so relevant. So I'll just delete that stuff and kind of refine it and just make sure that I've got like good chunks of stuff to fall back upon. Yeah.
Yeah, I know DJs, especially the wedding crowd, who always save their histories of the wedding, so in case they come up with similar events, then that they just can pull it from there, and that makes total sense. But on the other hand,
I was going to say probably what you're about to say. Like it's what I can't do is just pull up an old show and work my way through it from beginning to end, because it would, apart from anything, I'd be too bored. Like I have to keep myself interested in what I'm playing, and that means trying stuff out. So I'll always keep it moving in some way.
That's one of the things that Laid Back Luke, great Dutch DJ, always says. He also does basically his sets by the seat of his pants. But to keep things interesting for him, he always tries to find within the show new combinations. So he just has 2 tracks he knows they work fine together, and then he takes the one track and want to squeeze one within just to make different transitions, just to keep it interesting and
Exactly.
just to keep it going.
I mean, one of the things that's kept me going for all this time, 25 years, is to make sure that it's always interesting for myself. Because if I felt like I was dialing it in or just playing by the numbers, I don't think I could carry on. It would be too boring for me.
I totally understand. I totally got that. I understood from the little pre-talk we did that you had some questions for me as well. So fire away.
Yeah, I would like to take advantage of your expertise in library matters. I mean, so I have two separate ways of storing my music. In my studio computer, the iMac, I keep on a 2 terabyte hard drive my iTunes, or now my Music.app library of music, and that's all the audio that I have. So that's 70,000 songs at the moment. Then separate from that, on my what I consider my DJing laptop, I just keep the music for my Serato, which is stuff that I would want to call upon in a live show. So there's tons of stuff on the iTunes on the hard drive that's nothing to do with. I would never need it for a live show in Serato. It's just for sampling purposes or just for, I don't know, not DJing stuff. So 2 separate music libraries. And whenever I get a new song, if I download a new song, I'll think to myself, okay, it probably goes on the it definitely goes on the iMac with the full collection of music, but also is this something that I want to be taking out with me? What I would really love to be able to do is have all the music that's on the iMac accessible from my iPad, my phone, just I guess it's probably cloud-based one way or another to be able to do that. I kind of can't believe that music is the best way of accessing a library of this size. It just seems to have got so bad, that program, that I can't believe there's no alternative. So that's kind of my first question.
All right. Music, the successor to iTunes, feels very odd when you first encounter it again. And the reason for that is that Apple changed a lot of stuff that you were so used to. But everything that iTunes used to do, or used to be able to do, can Music do. And of course, what everybody uses in music all the time is the search function, because in iTunes you search all the time. And if you search in music, you think, holy shit, what is happening here? I didn't ask for this.
Yeah.
The reason for that is it's no longer called search. It's called filter. And let's see if I... Okay, Duncan, we are going to do a little experiment, because if I switch my cams, then I should be able... Yeah, that's a bit what I was afraid of.
Sound is back now.
Yeah, no, that's my bad. I switched to the other cam, but I want to be able to use the other video. And which is what? This is that. Let's see. Hold on. All right, I know what I did wrong. This is the regular USB, that's the regular audio. All right, then I have to see if the audio stays on if I do this. to my other computer because I know why the audio is not working now. I finally know that. Switch that back. Do I have audio now?
Yeah.
All right. So that one works and this one doesn't. That is so weird. Hold on, just a sec. All right, and now my Bluetooth said it lost connection.
Well, we can hear you.
Yeah, but I can hear you through. Oh man, it's one of those days. Don't you love that? Let's see, because I am not sure if this there's no audio coming from that at all. That's weird. Check. That is one. Off. Turn that on. And then. Okay. That should do the trick. Now I hear myself double.
But we
do
hear
you hear
you.
me?
Yep.
All right, this is, and then let's turn the graphics up, like that, and then I can put you in a corner.
There I am.
There you are, buddy. Okay, let's see if I can. Oh, then I miss everything. Oh man, I hate it when they say.
That's technology for you. It never does exactly what it should do.
Especially if you try. I mean, we tried to make this as good as possible. All right. Here we have iTunes. This is good old iTunes. Good old iTunes. I put my headphones off. I will put them in back again to hear you. Let's give some tracks in it. Now, if you want to search in iTunes, you just type something here and it will search that track. And then you can play it, obviously, or you can put it in a playlist or whatever you want to do. Now, if we go to music and we try to do the same thing, and that is where things go wrong for most DJs because it is so counterintuitive. So let me go to my M1 so I can show that one. And even the M1 is telling me that it's not on. Hold on. One of those days. But at least I can keep talking now because I'm now on my wireless phone. So I'm now really doing some nice stuff. Where's my team viewer? There it is. Let's quit that. Always fun. All right, let's see if we can now get to it. There it is. No need to speak in that one. And pull up music there. And there is already some stuff here. Now if I try to search something here, let's give it a track that I know that will be there. Why not? Let's find a track named Pump. And this is not what you want to have because this is absolutely utterly useless as a result. However, what you need to do is to go to the option field, and that is right here, show filter field. Shift-Command-F. If you do Shift-Command-F, you get this little thingy here. And if you there type pump, then it looks exactly the same as in iTunes. So just make sure that you have songs selected right here, and then make sure that the filter field is on top of it. Furthermore, what is annoying about music is that it always starts in this kind of playlist mode. Let's see if I can get... One of those days. Now the mouse is fighting me. Let me reconnect to it. There it is. You don't want me to rate you, folks, because it is kind of finding me. There it is. This is not the default, because normally a playlist looks like this in music, and that again is not very useful. But if you switch the view to songs, it will be the same view as you have in iTunes, and you can have the ratings there, and you can put every column on that you like to put on. So it is the same, but it might look a little bit different. And then I will switch some stuff back so I can hear Duncan again, and you can hear me.
Yeah, that's like
this. All right, Duncan. So
right, you can hear me again?
Yeah, I can hear you again, buddy.
So what would your recommendation be for making that huge library cloud-based and accessible from other Apple products?
From other Apple products, and that's the takeaway. You don't have a choice. That then you can only do it iCloud, but I don't like iCloud. iCloud is too much a black box for me. I don't have any control when is what being uploaded to iCloud, so I cannot recommend that. I myself use a file server right here in the building, and all computers here in this network access that same file server, which means that the file path to all the audio files is the same on all computers, because the moment you use an external device on Mac OS, it doesn't matter where those tracks are stored. If it's external, the file path remains the same, and the computer always knows to find. So that is kind of like your own cloud. The problem only comes if you want to go to iOS, if you want to go to your iPad, your iPhone, and stuff like that.
That's exactly what I'm trying to figure out. Is like, can I have all this stuff accessible, for instance, on my iPad when I'm on the move?
Not really. If you can do that through iCloud, but like I said, you are entering a big black box at that moment, and it's everybody guess how well that will work, how quick, how snappy tracks will be available for you, especially in the club situation. Forget about it.
Yeah.
For those things, I would rather stick to the streaming services like Tidal, BeatSource, Beatport Link, because those are made for that. You have an offline locker for the most regularly used stuff in case you are in a low internet environment. But for me, nothing beats just an external 2 terabyte hard drive SSD, and have everything on it, and have as many backups of that SSD hard drive as you can get.
Okay, that's interesting. That's kind of the conclusion I come to myself, but I'm glad to hear someone else say it. It's the iCloud situation that makes it. The iCloud does some very strange things, like it sometimes is uploading, and and sometimes it's taking stuff off my desktop, and I haven't asked it to. It seems to have a mind of its own a little bit, so I don't like that. My other question for you is about my library of music, which I use for Serato on my laptop. On the whole, I tend to keep it just on my desktop on my MacBook Pro. Is that a good idea? Is that a bad idea? Would you recommend some other way of doing things?
You've seen my desktops, so I should be the last person in the world to talk about desktops. But in general, I find it a bad idea. What I try to push to people is to put all your audio files on a volume that is not your startup drive. And what does that mean? A volume can be, for instance, a partition on your hard drive. I showed that last live stream, but I'm happy to demonstrate to you how to do that again and why it is so important. Which also means that we are going to do the trick with the microphones, with going back and forth. So bear with me for a moment, but at least the M1 should be available. And then I will show you how this works. Again, we cannot interact because I hear myself back in my headphones, and that makes I'm an old guy. I can only process one audio source at a time, unless it's through headphones and separated by channel. Then I can perfectly blend everything. So let's give this a try. Let me show you how that works and why it is so important. It's like this, and like that. And then I need to put those out, and I can take the graphic away. And then I put you in the right lower corner. And then I am totally hands off. I think I still hear you, Duncan.
Yeah, if you do, then great.
Yeah. I try to be as less annoyed as possible. But if you have a question, just yell it. And okay. I know to put my head, I can hear it from that point. Okay, let's put this to the side again. And let's go to my Mac Mini. And there is my Mac Mini. And let's see if I switch the screen, because I'm notorious for not doing that. All right, here is the problem. If you have a track right here, and let me open, you can do this at home, folks. If you open Text Edit comes with every Mac, it is right here. And you switch Text Edit to flat text mode, which is Command T, but let me see if I can find that option. I cannot press Command T, then why is not format text? Something is not working right. Shift Command T, my bad. Shift Command T, then you can see what is going on if you drop a file on it, because if I now drop a file on it, you can see the file path to that file. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see it even better. And let me put that a little bit down so it is, there it is. The problem with this file path is that it is linked to the user account. You can see here 𝐠𝐮𝐞𝐬𝐭, download school. That is the absolute file path to that audio file. The moment that file path changes, all kind of shitstorms start to appear. If you are on Rekordbox, cues and loops cannot be found, analysis data get lost. In Serato, you need to relink those tracks because the crates cannot find the audio files. The file path to your audio file is the integral part that uses all DJ software to link their stuff with the actual audio file. And if you change it, you have a problem. Now, if you have an external volume, and for instance here you've got my file server, this is my real file server, and on there you find my audio files. Like your computer, it is like 110,000 tracks, all categorized, but not to the extent of album, CD, etc., because I don't care about that shit anymore. I just dump it all in a top 40 or in a dance list. Now, one of the benefits of this is if I pick a track like the Diana Decker track, it says volume terabyte. Now, it doesn't matter which computer in my network I'm at. On every computer, the file path to that audio file will be volumes terabyte vadi. It will be the same on all computers. Even if I am on the road and I have a hard disk that is named terabyte, and that hard disk is a clone of my file server, my computer doesn't care, my laptop doesn't care. I can continue to play like I am in my network. Now, a lot of people don't like separate hard drives, and I understand that. I totally understand that. It can be annoying. What I do is this is a 2 terabyte SSD. Let me switch the cam for a moment. This is a 2 terabyte SSD, Samsung T7. This is my MacBook Pro, and what I like to do is I put some sticks on it, so you can just stick it up and put it in, and at least it will not fall off, and you can always have it. It is not really Velcro, it is something else, it is from 3M, but you can just, it is not glue, it works the same like Velcro. You can just stick it on, and you can even stack them. I have a certain amount of them, and I can stack them up. Now, what I told you is, if you don't like that, if you don't want to do that, if you don't want external drives, you want to use What you can do if the computer you are on is a recent computer, you are running Monterey, Big Sur or macOS Ventura, and your drive is formatted as an APFS drive, and if you ask information about that drive, you can see right here, this is an APFS drive. Let me switch the screen because we forget that there we are. There you see that's an APFS drive. You can make a second partition. Now in the past, if you made a second partition, you needed to know exactly what you were doing, because that partition would be a certain size and it would not be possible to shrink or to expand it. It would be that size, and if it is full, it is full. What we have new with macOS is the possibility to create a volume. And let me show you how that works. And let's do that in real time. So if I go to applications and I go to my utilities folder and I go to disk utility, again this is a Ventura computer, so I can do it on that Ventura computer. And if I click the drive, I can then say partition right there, partition. And I can click the little plus symbol right here, because this is what I want to partition. The blue part is what is all free for partition, the shaded part is being used. Plus, and now comes the trick. It asks me, do you want to create a partition or do you want to create a volume? If you make a partition, you make a static piece of the hard drive at a certain name. If you make a volume, it will be dynamic. Basically, you have twice two hard drives which have the exact same amount of free data. One is not taking it away from the other, but if you add stuff to one, it will be taken away from the other as well. So we create add volume and we call that audio files. And now you can see that there is a second hard drive indeed created on my hard disk. So my hard disk is basically split in two. And that hard drive has a total of 170 gigabyte free. If you look at your Macintosh HD, my Macintosh HD, it has 170 gigabyte too. So one is not taking stuff away from the other. It is just my hard drive has 170 gigabyte free space, and either of those two volumes have free space. Now if I put some tracks on that drive, and if we do the little test again with text edit, so I take a track and I drop it on it, then you can see that indeed, let me zoom in a little bit, that this has now the file path, volumes, audio files, and that will not change. If I make a clone of that partition and I name that clone audio files, I can use it in any other computer. So that file path will never change. It will be a static file path, and that is why it is so important to put your audio files on a separate volume. That keeps you flexible. If that computer collapses and I have backups of my collection data, then I have the audio files automatically. I don't have to think about relocating anything or stuff like that. It will just be there if I use hard drive instead of the partitioned drive by the same name. And that is an amount of flexibility, I think that is unparalleled. And basically it is your own little cloud, but you know where your audio files are at, instead of some mysterious thing that is putting them all the way to wherever it might be. And now we do the little trick.
The switch.
Let's see. That worked. Let me get it. So how was that, Duncan?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a lot to think about. I think I can see the sense in it, and I would want to do it because it works for backup purposes as well, and I can make sure that I have what I'm trying to figure out is, as I'm adding stuff to that volume, it will read it the same from any other computer that I'm using, right? So I won't have to, every time every week I throw stuff into Serato and relabel things and everything. That will automatically work on my other computer.
that volume is just for the internal drive and keeps your file path. What you need to do, if you can of course make a clone of that volume to an external, so you can share it with other computers. You can also use an external drive. The thing is, and I know that from a lot of working DJs like yourself, they don't want external drives on their laptop, on their performance laptop, simply because they don't want to be bothered with forgetting a drive, forgetting a cable, an extra item is an extra risk, etc., stuff like that. So what you do is you create an external drive on your internal drive. You create an extra drive on your internal drive. But if you make a backup, a clone with carbon copy cloner of that internal drive, and that works incremental, so you can just clone it away, then your Serato collection all of a sudden will work on your iMac too, because you grab that drive. It has all the information. It has your Serato crates, it has your audio files, it has your cues, your loops, and everything is on that drive or on that backup. And it will work on...
And then do you keep the your Serato folders, all the kind of information it's normally kept under users and then your name and music?
No. Serato is using what is called as a distributed collection system, which means the drive that contains your audio files, the location where the audio files are stored, is also the location where the relevant crates are stored. So if you put them on that volume, the crates are on that volume. If you make a backup of that volume by the same name, the backup of that volume will have your crates, so you can put that backup in any computer running Serato and you have your own crates.
That's super useful. This is good information. Good to know. Right. Nice.
Yeah. Let's see. There are some questions here. Would Google Drive be an option? Asks Stin Aldo. The problem, Stin, with every cloud thing, and whether it be Google Drive, Dropbox, iCloud, is that you lose control. You don't know where your tracks are or when your tracks are synced and how well your tracks are synced. Of course, all those things offer a solution by making all tracks offline or making all files offline, which means that there is some magic going on between the Finder, where you normally have your tracks, and the cloud, that the moment you ask for a file, the software sits in between and makes the files, downloads the files from the cloud to a storage location and then makes them available to the Finder. That is asking for a disaster if you are a DJ. It is fine if you are a student working on papers. It is fine if you are a professor doing all kind of research. It's fine if you're a financial expert who needs reports and stuff like that. It's not fine if you are a DJ doing sets hanging by the seat of his pants, because
I'm having this problem right now. As we're speaking, I'm downloading my entire music library because for some reason my the desktop of my Mac made everything cloud-based. I don't know what happened to push it all up into the cloud and make it unavailable, but I'm having to re-download 70,000 tracks. So that's going on as we speak.
Yeah, well, for that. Chris is saying, I would make my own cloud as Mixmaster G. The private cloud can be accessed from anywhere. Nextcloud on a small Raspberry Pi comes quick to mind. Yes, I am in the Apple ecosystem, heavily invested. The terabyte drive you just saw is just on a Mac running file sharing software from Apple, which is not available anymore. I think Apple Share server is not available anymore, but you can just set share and then share those drives. And again, the same applies. Any computer in your network can access that volume and will still continue to perform. So even if you have, for instance, if you are going to adopt this, Duncan, and you have an extra volume on your laptop with all your audio files and your Serato crates and all the good stuff, and you make that available for file sharing to the iMac can just mount it over Wi-Fi or over the network, and Serato will all of a sudden just see all the crates that are normally on your laptop. So you can be very flexible with that.
Cool.
Dominic Carter. An alternative is internal drive via Dropbox folder. You get all the cloud sync features for Rekordbox cloud processing, which include The problem, Dominic, is not the Dropbox cloud storage limitation. The problem is that you are no longer in control of what is happening to the audio files. And like I said, you can do it offline, but then you get all kinds of delays. Trust me, I've seen too many stuff going wrong. And we spoke about this at the beginning of this segment. I know there will be a time that this will be the way to go. I'm sure about that. Actually, I think we are going to skip this altogether and we are going to streaming audio because it doesn't make sense to have your own audio files at that time if that happens, because the younger generation is not used to buy any tracks. My girlfriend has never bought a single track in her whole entire life. She's younger than me. So it doesn't make sense to we are old school and we are the dinosaurs. We like to have our tracks. I have my vinyl behind me in crates, neatly organized. I have my audio files neatly organized. But there comes a time where that's no longer important at all. It is like Netflix. You don't care which VHS tape on which timer a special episode is. You just start Netflix and you click the episode, period, and you don't care where it's stored. That's going to happen too. So I think we are in a time that is slowly shifting. Stin Eldo, so you copy the Rekordbox files also on that new volume because it still will still be on your standard volume, right? That is a possibility, Stin, if you want to do that, and especially if you work internally, then I recommend that to do that, because that drive will be just as fast as your internal drive, because it is your internal drive. But Duncan is using Serato, and those Serato jocks are a little bit spoiled, because most of the important shit Serato stores inside the audio files. And yes, there are crates, and that is kind of important, but the most important stuff is all in the audio files. Have the audio file, you have all the good stuff. Not so much with other DJ software. I'm a Tractor user, Rekordbox users. There you need to be very specific, and then you have to rely on the database for having the cues, the loops, and all that stuff. And then things get very, very different very, very soon. Ulwif just got in. You are late to the show, you diva. You're supposed to be here 2 hours ago. Good to have you with us, buddy. Dominic Carter, I went through a crazy deep dive for over 2 months figuring out this Dropbox workflow, and you know how OCD I am. Yeah, I know that. About music, I unested all my iTunes folders and self. Yeah, but that is the first step. Always, Dominic, never ever let iTunes copy your tracks and take care of storing your audio files, because that is just a disaster in the making if you go that route. That is why all my apps always warn you, if you have those settings. Some of them will refuse to work at all, and others will warn you this is not the way to go. Ulwif, is this a good place to ask a question again, Mr. G? Yeah, always, buddy. Go ahead. Yeah, you can ask a question. Duncan, you got any other questions about the thing you're asking is the hot issue for every DJ out there, by the way.
Yes, I bet it is. No, that's pretty much what I wanted to ask you, and I'm just getting text that mean I do have to go pretty soon. So I'm going to have to leave you to your wonderful show.
Thank you very much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure.
Really great to finally meet one of your idols, and indeed, it is the guy you were hoping it would be. I hope to speak to you again very soon, Duncan. Thank you very much for joining.
And anyone that wants to follow me on any social media or ask me any questions, I check it all myself. So anyone reach out that wants to reach out. And I hope that we speak again, Mixmaster G. It's been a pleasure.
We sure will. Duncan, thank you very much for hanging out, and I hope to see you live in action very soon too. People, again, if you like to ask Duncan a question, follow him on the Instas, the Facebooks, etc. Most is DJ Yoda UK, I think, to find you. Of course, on SoundCloud you can find all his mixtapes. You can buy his records on Bandcamp. and I will make sure that I drop a link to one of his videos in the remarks under the video, so you can see for yourself what it means to play a crazy set in a dome setting with all kinds of stuff. Duncan, thank you very, very much for joining me. It has been a great pleasure. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you so much. Peace.
And that also means that I can go back to my regular setting like this, which means that all right, that was Duncan DJ Yoda, and I'm very, very happy that he would take the time to sit down with us and just give his perspective on this whole DJ stuff thing. Let's see what's happening in the chat. Yes, 𝐸𝐽, DJ Yoda is on Twitch too, DJ Yoda UK. I forgot to ask him because that would be a normal question, but Yoda doesn't have a particular date or time that he plays on Twitch, but he just whenever he feels like it, he will show up there and do his set. So you can find Yoda on Twitch with live sets and with all funky stuff going on. All right, my friends, that also means that we are almost 2 hours live, and we are slowly going to the end of this live stream. Of course, there will be a live stream next week where you can ask me all questions. If you are watching this from a recording, from an archive, and you have a question for me, put them in the remarks in the comments below. Then another thing that is always worth watching, worth mentioning, and let me find that, is this little thing. Let me then make the screen like this. The NAMM is going up April 13th till 15th in Anaheim. I will have a booth there. Make sure that you come and hit me up at the NAMM, and don't forget to ask me for one of those famous ATGR cup coasters, because I got a shitload of them, and I'm very happy to give them away to anybody who just shows up at my little booth there. If you got a question for now, put it in the chat. Otherwise, we are going to close the stream for this week. Next week, last show before NAMM. I have no idea how the streams will be at the NAMM. So maybe there will be a stream next week, or the week after, maybe not. Maybe there will be a stream from the show floor, but it might be on a different time, of course. 𝐸𝐽 is coming with a question, so we wait for 𝐸𝐽's question to see if I can help him with whatever he wants to ask. So just be patient for that. And it seems like a lot of typing, 𝐸𝐽. Using my NV controller with Serato. Yeah, we can tell, but hey, don't worry. We wait for the question. I couldn't let that pass. If you put that in the chat, then I just going to indeed say, hey, that's that guy. Waiting for 𝐸𝐽 to finish his question. But I think I have an idea where this is going, and if this is going in the direction that I think it's going, then that means that it's very Serato controller specific, and I am not a very big Serato guru. I know how Serato stores his audio files and stuff like that. Yeah, I really have no idea what that might be, what problem that might be. Dominic has a nerdy question in regards of relocating files in Rekordbox. Will that maybe be how to relocate files that are in the Dropbox segment? Because that is an issue. Yeah, 𝐸𝐽, I don't know the controller. I know too little from Serato in order to give a meaningful answer on that. So no, sorry, buddy, I cannot help you with that. Otherwise, I would be happy to help you with it, of course. Dominic, bring on the nerdy question. Appreciate that, man. By the way, talking about love, don't forget to like, share, subscribe and all that other good stuff this video, because that is for me the only feedback I get that indeed the stuff I'm doing is appreciated. The track exists in the collection. I watched all your videos. No, this was my fault. I changed my mind and clicked the keep organized button after I had updated everything. So that means, Dominic, that you have the option on. Yeah. Hold on, Dominic, because what is important is the step before that. Did you upload all those tracks to Dropbox, or did you let Rekordbox upload all those tracks to Dropbox and then took away the original files? No, in general not. In general, Rekordbox will prevent a track that is on the same audio or on the same file path for being added to the collection twice. So that is not possible. There is even a very famous error message when relocating telling you, listen, track already exists in the collection, cannot relocate. But you can expect a lot of problems auto-relocating Dropbox stored files that did not originate on Dropbox. You've got basically two kinds of Dropbox files. You have audio files that were already in Dropbox and then you added them to Rekordbox, a little bit what I showed at the beginning of the session. And you have tracks that you send to Dropbox using the cloud function of Rekordbox, and that those tracks, those last tracks, go direct into the Rekordbox folder on Dropbox with the very strange contents storage structure. Those tracks you cannot relocate, but those tracks still should exist on their original storage location. Tracks that you introduce to the collection from Dropbox, so you know what you do it, did it through the back door. That means they were already on Dropbox and you then added them to the collection, right? So you dragged from Dropbox stored folder to Rekordbox. That should be possible to be relocated. However, you need to tell Rekordbox where your Dropbox location is. And then things might get a little bit tricky. I have not tested this yet, how good this works with 6.7, but let me show you. Let me change the screen there. And then go to Rekordbox. Oh, the dude needs to type. All right, go ahead and type. I'm not a hateful guy, Dominic, you know that. But if you go to in Rekordbox to the preferences, advanced, and then right here, that should only list the Dropbox location. But I can do what you're trying to do. We can do that live. We can see what's happening. So let's remove those tracks from the collection. I start from my internal drive, then I start uploading through the app via Dropbox. Then I deleted it, then I wanted to reload all my text from the new Dropbox location. Yeah, and then things get tricky, of course. So what you did was this. Make sure that you're following this, Dominic, because create new playlist. From desktop, and then let's populate that from desktop thing. Some random tracks like this. Let's analyze them. They are being analyzed as we speak. Now, right now, those tracks are not on Dropbox. They are on this file path. Now if I send them over to Dropbox by saying upload them to the cloud, CloudSync, upload the tracks, you can see that right here we've got the little clouds in front of them. Now the moment, let's hope that they are finished. I'm not sure if they are finished yet. Let me double check on Dropbox. Yeah, they are finished. All right. The moment I change the file path of this, or if I just move them away and I go back to my Rekordbox. So I did basically took the original ones away. Do not sync, okay. I can still load them, and that is, as you can see, and this, by the way, folks, is exactly what we were talking about, that you see the absolute file path right there. That doesn't work, and now Rekordbox falls back to my Rekordbox, my Dropbox file path, which is correct. Now if I select those tracks and if I say, let's see, where am I? Show missing files, display all missing files. You can see that everything is changed to Dropbox. So from now on, these are Dropbox files 100%, not the originals anymore. And I can I reload the tag? I can reload the tag. Yeah, that is, Dominic, that what you say is what you have if you are on the originating computer. So this is the originating computer, the computer where I did introduce the tracks to. And let's see if, I don't know if Rekordbox switches back. So we can find that out. Just a little bit of tweaking with it. Okay. Yeah, it switches automatically back. You see that? So it switches back, showing Finder. And it finds them there, and I can do everything I want. On all the other computers, so for instance on my Mac Mini, let me go over there. There's my Mac Mini, and let's start Rekordbox. Like this. On the Mac Mini, those tracks are available too, because they are on Dropbox. But you can see that they load just fine, but if you look at the file path, it says Dropbox instead of this. So on the computer that introduced the tracks, you can do a little bit more with the tracks than on the computer that are just clients, because those clients don't own the tracks. This computer, the Mac Mini, let me switch that on. This is the Mac Mini, doesn't own the tracks, so it can do less with it than the originating computer, which is logical, which makes total sense. But keep that in mind, and keep in mind that you might have problems with syncing tracks to a USB that way. Again, I am not a fan, mainly because all the problems that I heard about this and read about it. I have not experienced problems myself that I couldn't solve, but I don't think I am the average user for that. Yeah, this is exactly what I mean, Angelino. This is exactly what I mean. Stuff like that can be a problem, that you have to store them offline. So please, please, please be careful with Dropbox, and offline storing is not a solution. If you don't have the storage space, don't use it. And otherwise you can get all kinds of problems I can expect all kinds of problems. Angelino, just out of interest, those tracks, did you introduce them to Dropbox on one computer, or did you introduce them to Dropbox on another computer and then all the other computers can't load them unless they are offline, unless they are pulled offline? And do you mean by pulling them offline in the Finder? That has all been changed, Dominic. That has all been changed now. Multiple computers, and all computers have the same problem, right? I bet the originating computer doesn't have a problem, the computer that had the original tracks, and all other computers are having problems because you have to pull them offline. Makes total sense. And again, I'm going to do a special on Dropbox soon, Rekordbox with Dropbox, where I want to make some slides for it and maybe ask something from Pioneer DJ to accompany me. That won't be my buddy Jeroen, but that will then most likely be someone from Pioneer DJ Americas who knows everything about this stuff, because there are some inconsistencies and I think that they need to be hammered out. So stay tuned. I think that will be something for after NAMM, so not at NAMM but after NAMM. Angelo Razin is Dutch. All computers yeah. Angelino is telling us that Dropbox is aware of the problem. All the computers that are connected to his stuff cannot load straight in. Cannot load straight in means that they load offline tracks on the fly. But I think that should all be fixed, Angelo. I think the big problem is that there are delays with downloading the tracks, and DJ software like Rekordbox has to wait for the tracks to load and then get all kind of crazy shit going on. So trust me, those problems are there. I will address these in a next, not in the next AMA, but in another AMA, because this is an important issue and a lot of people are using this, and I need to get to the bottom of this with some experts from Rekordbox. Yeah, the workaround works by just downloading them on the fly and then use them in Rekordbox. That always works, but that is not the reason why you want to have a cloud solution. Yeah, Cloud Direct Play works fine if you have CDJs with an Ethernet connection and CDJ 3000s or Open Squad. Then it works fine. True. But again, we will keep this for a next stream. All right, my friends. Topping 2 hours now. Thank you all for hanging out with me, because I find it very special that all you guys take time on your Tuesday to hang out with the Dutch guy who barely speaks any English to nerd out over DJ shit. Of course, it was great to have DJ Yoda as a guest on. What will happen during NAMM, you will hear from me. Stay tuned to all the socials. And if you've got questions, just drop them in the chat right below and I'm happy to see if I can answer them. And please, like, share, subscribe and all that other good shit. The Rukus, I am now so used to you being late, my buddy. But great to have you with us, and thanks for tuning in. All right, Dominic, I think that Pulse will be the one that will be my guest, so you can save them. All right, thank you all, folks, for joining me, Mixmaster